Welcome back to StackHunters. Bradley Stalder with you. My guest, Justin Curry, a.k.a. Chev, a.k.a. What is the other nickname? Ball Knower.
I'll handle all the AKAs. AKA your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, AKA Chev Door Sanders, AKA the legendary Ball Knower. And I'm honored to be here, brother.
This is great. It's been too long, Chev. I know we were, in the Dynasty Pulse realm for some time. This was a lot of fun, spending time with you and the crew. But now it's you and me here on StackHunters, and we're going to dive into some of the big news that's happening in the training camp realm. We had a big ticket item break this morning. Chev, let's talk about it. Justin Fields, dislocated toe.
So I'm trying to parse through all this while I'm at work, right? And I'm getting everything from he had to be carted off the field to he couldn't walk off the field on his own power to, just all the worst things. As someone who's a Justin Fields apologist to the core.
Didn't I try to peel Justin Fields away from you in one of our Dynasty leagues a couple months ago?
You did.
And to no avail.
No. I never, if I get Justin Fields, I do not trade him. Although we're hitting the point now where if I can get a good enough return, I would be willing to do so. But back to the point about Justin Fields and his untimely demise this morning, according to the Twitter streets. Like, I'm running a gamut of emotions at work. People are like, why are you just staring at your phone?
He was carted off. Chev, he was carted off. He got out the cart. The cart is out.
I grabbed a stranger and I'm like, life's just not fair sometimes. You understand? It's like just this old 60-something-year-old lady. Like, life's just not fair. Why can't he just get a fair shot to be the QB1? All I need him is in a real offense with real opportunity. And she's just looking at me like, what are you talking about? Please unhand me, sir. I was like, I apologize. I blacked out for a little bit. I did. But all that to say, Twitter, if you run to Twitter for the news, it's great because you can get it fast, but getting the right news. So after about 90 minutes of me being inconsolable at my desk, I pop back in and I look again and I'm like, oh, somebody stepped on his foot.
Oh.
Someone stepped on his foot. We're not done. We're not done.
No, we are not done. But look, the reality is when you're thinking about players like Justin Fields playing the quarterback position and the skill set that Fields brings to the table, he is known to be a rushing quarterback. Mm-hmm. It's his feet. That's the difference in fantasy football. But also, who's behind him? Like, it's Tyrod Taylor. Like, that's it in terms of there's no quarterback competition. It's Fields. Right. So you're hoping and praying that this is a short term. You just give him some rest, lube up that toe, bandage it up. Like, I don't know, like you do what you need to do to get Justin Fields onto the field. And I think that that's what Aaron Glenn is going to try to do. He's going to try to teach his guys toughness and play through those types of things. That's what he took away from the Lions. He was like Dan Campbell 2.0. That's how he was pegged coming out of this coaching cycle, was he's going to embody some of the bite your kneecap off mentality. And so I'm thinking, I'm hoping, I'm praying for all of us Justin Fields people, because look, I was taking Justin Fields easily over Trey Lance. Like, this was a take that I was in the Dynasty streets forever. Just Fields over Lance. It wasn't close. And I know that there were a lot of people who wanted Lance. He was a darling in the superflex realm. But we see how it turned out. At least Fields has given us upside.
Yeah.
So when we look at like the consolidation of who's going to get the ball, right? It's either Fields is going to be the guy, or I don't want almost any of it.
Now, I will say this. I've been a little bit more bullish on this offense because of the fact that, like, we've got some insulation and protection with the offensive line. They've invested heavily into the offensive line. Took Olufashanu last year. I believe they took Mekhi Becton in the first round this year. So they're taking the steps and doing the things that you would want. The way that Detroit built out their lines, they had, the thing about Detroit is they already had the D-line built in. Now the Jets have the D-line, the Jets have the D-line built in, and they've upgraded the offensive line. So hopefully they can create an advantage in the trenches. And these weapons, for the most part, are cheap enough to where you're not breaking the bank to get them. Justin Fields in redraft right now is QB 10, like going off the board. And that's like a 9th, 10th, 11th round. That's ridiculous for what he represents. If he's going to play a full schedule of games, we've never seen him not be good for fantasy.
Oh, and not just not be good, but he can access the elite ceilings.
Correct.
That the Josh Allens, that the Jalen Hurts of the world can access on a weekly basis. It's not just, once in a while he can consistently get to that spot. Right now on Underdog, he is the quarterback 10, 100th overall.
That's absurd.
He should be ahead of Bo Nix. He should be ahead of Kyler Murray. That's my take. He should probably be closer to quarterback 8. Yeah.
It's the stink, though. It's the stink of him getting benched in Pittsburgh, and the losing, I guess you could say losing the job to Caleb Williams, or Detroit or Chicago moving on from him. But they had the number 1 pick, and Caleb Williams is regarded as a generational talent, man. You can't pass up on that for a guy who's never won more than 7 games in the season. Can't do it. It doesn't make sense to do so. So I understand, but I've been a big Fields fan. I was just like you. I was like, what are we talking about? This Trey Lance and Zach Wilson nonsense. Like, what are we doing? We just watched this dude go toe-to-toe with a ridiculous LSU team in the national championship. There's no reason to be taking this guy, this random guy from BYU, or this guy we've never heard of from North Dakota, now Northwest, State University or whatever. Like, we go get our O linemen from there. We don't go get quarterbacks and stuff. We've got enough to say now that that's not a great idea between Carson Wentz and Trey Lance. We can agree with that. Easton Stick, no disrespect to you, bud, but I'm just saying, it just doesn't. He's not a bad quarterback. He just got failed by an organization. Like, think about Jared Goff with Jeff Fisher, and then Jared Goff with Sean McVay. It looked like he didn't know how to football.
Like, Jeff Fisher was like 8-9 or 8-8 every year. Yeah. So like
he was on the flip side of that Tomlin coin. Just, I'm gonna be 8-9 every single year. Doesn't matter what happens.
Well, it seems like Fields has avoided major injury. He's probably what they would consider day-to-day. They probably give him the rest of this week off. They probably give him the rest of next week off. I'd be very surprised to see them push him at all. Seems like a couple weeks and he'll be back at it, is how I'm reading this situation. Is that how you're reading it too?
Yeah. we just got the beautiful thing is this happened literally the 2nd or 3rd day of training camp. So cool. We shelf him for a little bit. Maybe we don't get any news or whatever the case may be, but I trust that come, September 7th or 8th or whatever kickoff is, week 1, Steelers, Jets, he's going to be out there and he's going to be in our lineups for fantasy.
Revenge game narrative week 1. We love to see it.
Double revenge game, because the Jets is just, that's one of my favorite, most intriguing matchups for week 1.
I'm excited for it. I'm also excited because Kyle Pitts is getting not coach speak index. He's getting quarterback speech index. Michael Penix coming out after this practice saying, did you see the practice? We got the ball to KP. We got the ball to him. And this is just after Pitts was deemed good to go for the Atlanta Falcons training camp. So seems like all signs are pointing to, yay, Kyle Pitts. But we've seen this. How many seasons now? This is season number 5 for Kyle Pitts, right? So we've seen this play out 4 other seasons. Now, You could come back and say Jonnu Smith broke out late. Like, sure. And Kyle Pitts already has 1,000-yard season under his belt. Yeah, okay. Like, there are certain reasons for optimism, but we've also seen the major flaws come out of Kyle Pitts. Like, he just can't win contested catches. He's just not a tough guy down the field. And that's where they want to deploy him. Now, maybe this year things will be different, but that's the type of talk that you have to do to talk yourself into drafting Kyle Pitts here in 2025.
Yeah. I mean, he's a big guy that plays not big. So he's 6'6", 250 pounds, and he plays like he's a slot receiver that can't deal with any sort of contact whatsoever. I'm a huge Florida fan, and I was a big Kyle Pitts guy, but I have not had the force. So he was too steamed up for me in the way that I like to either draft Dynasty or I'm not going to take a rookie tight end in fantasy. I don't care how high they get drafted, like for redraft. So I haven't been personally harmed by the Kyle Pitts situation.
You've been marked safe from the Kyle
Pitts. I've
been
marked safe from Kyle Pitts, drafting Kyle Pitts in fantasy for years. And I thought that he was going to be the next big thing, and it's just let us down in the most tremendous of ways. Like, think about this. Jamar Chase was regarded as a generational prospect, and nobody really batted an eye at the fact that Kyle Pitts went ahead of him. That's what we thought of Kyle Pitts coming out of college. Now, was that wildly wrong? Absolutely. Absolutely, it was wrong. I don't think that there's any sort of ceiling that Kyle Pitts can hit now that's going to make us think that it was correct to draft him over Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell. But, yeah, exactly. But he could still be serviceable. I mean, he did have a career high in touchdowns.
So you've seen the memes, I'm sure, where it's rookie year, 1 touchdown, sophomore year, 2 touchdowns.
I was hoping you would do this.
3 touchdowns. Last year, 4 touchdowns. So it doesn't take a math major, even though I am a math major. It doesn't take a math major to see where this is trending. And if he has 5 touchdowns this year, how many tight ends are going to get 5 touchdowns, Chev?
I mean, there's going to be a random Robert Tonyan guy who just kills it, but only catches like 40 balls.
Robert Tonyan, let's go.
There you go.
Yeah.
See? There you go. So I don't know, man. I think he's cheap enough to where you can take a shot on him now. I think in our startup that we did, the I guess work league for Player Profiler, I took him as my second tight end. There's no tight end premium. I was like, cool, man. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, he's still only 24 years old, I guess. Like, you're throwing stuff out there just hoping that like one of these comes true. Like, man, maybe he catches touchdowns. Maybe Michael Penix loves him some Kyle Pitts, and we can get the Pitts to Penix, and that just becomes a whole alliteration and great for fantasy and whatever the case may be. I don't have that hope though. I want it to be a thing, and I'm going to be happy for people if it is a thing, but I just won't be participating in that particular sect of fantasy for 2025.
I'm just thinking of all of the fantasy football team names that you can generate from the Penix to Pitts name generation.
Yeah.
Just put it into ChatGPT, and maybe we'll have to make sure that it's not like R-rated.
Yeah, I came up with 5 like off the top of my head, and none of them I can utter on the air right now.
Yeah, no, this may not be a child's program, but Lord knows my children in 10 years will go back and watch their father talk about fantasy football and a guy named Penix. Okay. So nevertheless, Kyle Pitts deemed good to go. Okay. Let's just one word, Chev. Are you buying or selling Kyle Pitts breakout 2025?
So,
okay, that's all we need to hear. Are you buying or selling? Not that Russell Wilson was named the starter, because he was named the starter. He's expected to start week 1. That's what Brian Dable has said. Buying or selling that Russell Wilson plays at least 13 games.
So, yeah. Let's look up when the Giants bye week is, because I fully expect them to be well behind well behind the 8 ball by the time that they get to their bye week. I need to figure out when.
So the
that
Giants have bye week 14.
Oh, now here we go. Okay,
that was a good one, wasn't it?
That was leading the witness counselor.
Bye week is week 14. So will Russell Wilson play a start for 13 games this year?
Start 13 games. I'll go yes.
Okay.
I'll go yes. Oh, well, hold on. They have Jameis too.
Yeah.
I'll still say yes. It's going to be really difficult for them to not suck really, really bad. And that's the thing, is if it gets to the point where it's a lost season, why are you not giving your first round quarterback reps? That's where I land. And so if they don't suck as bad as I think that they're going to suck, no offense to Giants fans, by the way, you guys know what it is. It's not great right now. Hey, you got 2 Super Bowls. You beat Tom Brady twice. Just shut up about it a little bit, okay? It's not great right now, okay? But it could be a thing between Jackson Dart and Malik Neighbors whenever Jackson Dart gets onto the field. I mean, he's one of the best deep ball passers in the entire NCAA last year. I feel like that's the one thing that's going to translate from day one. And Malik Neighbors is like freaking Spider-Man out there. Just web ball, got it. It doesn't. So whoever is throwing the ball to Malik Neighbors is going to have fantasy success, in my opinion. I just don't know if they don't get to the point where it's a lost season and we just need to get him in there quick, like the Drake May protocol, for lack of a better term. Like, hey, we suck. We know we suck. Let's get the kid some reps. You know, he's been calling plays. Like, there's just so much for me. And this is a long-winded answer, but there's so much for me that Jackson Dart has to learn and absorb in an NFL culture. Like, he didn't have a snap count in college. So I feel like him calling out the plays, and like we've infamously seen Brian Daboll grill Jaden Daniels about not spitting out a play the right way. And you know that that's a big part of every single team's, you know, their playbook is their verbiage and all that stuff. So I want to say yes, because there's a big learning curve for Jackson Dart. And I do think he's going to be fine if he gets time. But so I'm just going to stick with yes for right now.
I think Russ plays more than 13 games.
Oh, okay.
Here's why. I think that he plays more than 13 games. I do think we see some Jackson Dart this year.
Okay.
Like, don't get me wrong. But you mentioned like Jackson Dart can throw the ball down the field well, right? That's one of his superpowers. So can Russell Wilson. Yep. And it's not like 2015 Russell Wilson.
Sure.
Last year, Russell Wilson was the number 2 quarterback in deep ball completion percentage. Number 2.
Yep.
He was number 4 in accuracy rating. And this is a player who is number 4 in true passer rating, number 3 in production premium, number 6 in explosive rating. Like, this is a quarterback who still, like, in a sense, has it. Mm-hmm. And he didn't have who was the wide receiver 1 in Pittsburgh last year? It was George Pickens.
Don't do this.
Right.
Don't do this.
That's what I'm saying.
You know how much I love George Pickens. Don't make me do this.
Look, I don't hate Pickens, but he's not a wide receiver 1 on a team.
That's
he
fair.
is.
That's almost inarguable at this point after just watching the results.
He is one of the best wide receiver 2s. Like, you could think like T. Higgins would be ahead of him, but like there's very few other teams where you'd see a George Pickens. But Malik Neighbors, all Russ needs to do is get the ball to Malik Neighbors. Mm-hmm. And he has been. Like, the reports have been just Russ is peppering right off the bat. That's all you need to do is get the ball to your guy. And Russ has the stats to be able to not just get it to him close, but get it to him deep. Mm-hmm. So give me the veteran who's going to keep them in games and not be the reason that they lose. Like, if they lose, it's not because of Russell Wilson. It'll be because a stupid wide receiver ran the wrong route, or one of the offensive linemen missed an assignment, or the defense implodes. Like, Russell Wilson's not the reason you lose these games. He may not be the reason you win, but he's not going to be the reason you lose.
That's fair. That's fair. I've watched him enough post Seattle to be a little bit disillusioned by him holding on to a job long term. That's the only thing. It's like I want it to be good because Russ is the second best option for our fantasy teams. Obviously, Jameis is first.
Oh,
but Jameis also gets the coach fired the fastest.
Yeah, he does.
So that's the, like, if we have to bank on Russ, it's fine. He just can't do some of the things some of the mistakes that I've seen him make. Like last year, week 18, he's scrambling and he just goes down inbounds with no timeouts during like a game-winning drive. And I say, bro, you've been doing this. You've got hundreds of actual game snaps of doing this. Like, how did you just mess this up? But it's been a comedy of errors post Seattle for Russ. Yeah. So I hope that he does hold the job because I feel like he could feed the fantasy options, and he might be close to what Jameis can give us ceiling wise for Malik Neighbors. But if he's going to start 13 games, I'm pulling for him to start the rest of the season, unless they just, they rip the Band-Aid off during training camp and they say, all right, fine, we're throwing the kid out there. And then maybe we follow the feet of John Mara to give us another year with the kid to see what he can do.
You want to hear something funny?
Always.
I follow the Coach Speak Index, and I love their content because the context of some of these quotes are phenomenal. And I love it when sometimes they don't put quotes in context because that makes it even more comedic. But one of the videos that they pulled up was Dable. I can't remember if it was Dable or one of the assistant GMs for the Giants saying that, oh yeah, with regard to Jackson Dart, we're thinking of like when we were in Buffalo and we drafted Josh Allen and we wanted to bench Josh Allen and just keep him on the bench and start Nathan Peterman the whole season.
That just doesn't seem like a real. I know that is a real thing that happened. That absolutely does not seem like a real thing that happened. Like, I remember these talks. I want to believe wholeheartedly that NFL staffs are smarter than this.
They most certainly are not.
That's mind-boggling. Like, legitimately mind-boggling that this was a real thing. But
you were gonna bench Josh Allen for Nathan Peterman.
Exactly. Like, what, now the timing of this quote is the more pertinent part for me, because if this happened like during training camp and Josh Allen was just kind of stinking it up because he was just wild stallion out there, I can understand that a little bit. But also, Nathan Peterman has never not stunk at football.
This is true.
Like, never ever as a professional. I'm sure he's killing it in some over 30 flag football league somewhere. Like, shout out to you.
Poor Nathan Peterman. He had 5 interceptions and a half? Six. How dare I get that stat wrong? 6 interceptions. Yikes. Yeah, no, the lore of Nathan Peterman lives on. But who's living on and with first team reps, Chev, in the Texans running back room? Nick Chubb is getting first team reps with Joe Mixon on the non-football injury list. So Woody Marks getting some work. Nick Chubb getting first team reps. Yes, like, this seems more procedural for like Mixon being on the NFI, but I'm also encouraged by hearing that Nick Chubb they're trying to find out what they have in Nick Chubb coming off of 2 injuries, because he came back from the terrible ACL 2 years ago. Like, that was it was like multi-ligament. I didn't think he would play football again, like,
Right.
after watching it. And then he comes back. He's valiant, but he's not explosive. He lacks the speed. He lacks the burst. He lacks the, after contact agility. He just gets tackled. He's a 3 yards per carry type of guy for the Browns. And then he fractures his foot. So the Browns are like, well, past age apex, we have no more commitment. We love you, Nick, but, thank you for your service. And now he goes on the Texans, and all right, he's getting some reps to start. At least it's good to get him going. He may or may not make the team, but at least Joe Mixon, there's opportunity to find out what you have.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this. I was hoping that Joe Mixon would kind of step to the side a little bit so we could figure out what we have with Nick Chubb. I mean, we don't need to see a bunch of Joe Mixon. We know what that is. He's a hammer. And I've always juxtaposed those two. So having them in the same backfield now feels great. It just happened, 6 or 7 years too late for their primes, but it would have been a headache for fantasy. But I want to see Nick Chubb flourish in the most desperate of ways. Like, he's one of my favorite players to watch. I've never gotten a chance to own as much Nick Chubb, but I just think he's an awesome football player. So hopefully we get more of the Nick Chubb that we saw pre-horrible Monday Night Football injury.
Oh.
And, just what we saw last year was some sort of representation of whatever Nick Chubb used to be. Hopefully with another year removed from the ACL, he comes back from the fractured foot. We saw him doing all the cool Instagram workout videos. So hopefully he can stay healthy. He can stay on the field. We get a real opportunity, and it's a great 1-2 punch with him and Joe Mixon, even though there does seem to be a lot of skill set overlap. But they're both able to tote. Hopefully Nick Chubb is still able to tote the tater. Joe Mixon was really good for about 11 weeks and then bombed us in the fantasy playoffs. I know people probably forgot, but absolutely stunk it up in the fantasy playoffs. So maybe they can do a better job keeping each other fresh. I'm hoping that Nick Chubb makes his team and has a role for fantasy this year.
I'm rooting for him. I grew up in the Cleveland area. I have history of drafting a lot of Nick Chubb in redraft leagues that year, where he tore every ligament in his knee. I had him it was probably 70% exposure. It was disaster zone. Like, the reality is, and he was doing well. The first game, he had 150 rushing yards. And what was it? The third quarter where he injured, second or third quarter, he was on pace for over 150 rushing yards against the Steelers defense. He was crushing out of the start of the season. And now he is playing second fiddle in Houston, but maybe there's some hope on the horizon. When we get back from our break, Najee Harris shows up at Chargers camp, but we're going to talk about how he showed up. Chev and I are going to bring you all of the things you need to know here on StackHunters right after this.
Now, people say, oh, there's so much free on Player Profiler. What's in the premium package? Well, it starts with the player rankings. We have the best process for ranking and projecting players, not just seasonal leagues, though. We're talking about tight end premium, specifically FFPC, best ball, specifically underdog, including their superflex rankings. And then we have IDP rankings, dynasty rankings, rookie rankings, Scott Fishbowl rankings, offensive line rankings by Dan Fornick, cornerback rankings throughout the season where you can see who's matched up with who. It's incredible. And think about who's contributed to our processes over time. Math majors, analytics powerhouses, plus you get the contributions from the real football guys. Billy Muzio, Dan Williamson, Bradley Stalder. That's why our rankings are the best. And if you want to upgrade and go all in, use promo code Underworld or your host promo code, and you get $25 off.
That's right. Welcome back to the StackHunters. Boom. That's right. Chev is in the house at Chev90 on X Machine. Justin, we've got the Chargers running back Najee Harris, and we all know he suffered a superficial eye injury during July 4th with a firework. getting him in the face. And now he shows up at camp and he has sunglasses on. He has a hoodie on. He looks like somebody out of like the post-COVID era, like just trying to like hide away from people. 6 feet, social distance, because no one really knows if it's Najee Harris. Is it Tom Hanks actually under there? You never know. You wouldn't know. We don't know if it's actually Najee Harris at the Chargers camp. We don't know. It could be. It could be Najee Harris. It could be the running back formerly drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, it's not participating in camp. There's been rumblings about voided money. Rumblings, nothing official. But the Chargers have played this very close to the vest. So how are you reading this situation with Najee Harris? And of course, we're going to have to talk about Omarion Hampton in a second. So keep that in mind too. But your initial reaction to the Najee Harris reporting clandestinely to the Chargers camp.
So there was one of the most discouraging things out of this whole deal is if you read what Harbaugh said yesterday, it's like, he's in meetings. He's doing everything that he can. So just praying for healing. Like, did somebody just walk up to his face?
And Jim Harbaugh's Catholic and like a devout Catholic. He is a religious man. And so if he is invoking prayer for Najee Harris, I didn't even hear this. This is a big deal, Chev.
Yes. So, yeah. It's not great.
No.
I've been pulling the trigger on Najee Harris because of the value that he represents and because that ecosystem lends itself to fantasy running backs being relevant. And you got to pay up for Omarion Hampton, but you don't got to pay much for Najee Harris. And it's worth a stab at somebody who's probably going to see 220 touches in that offense this year. But if he can't get on the field, if he's out here letting people shoot him in the eyeball with Roman candles, like we can't count on him anymore. And then you should just draft as much Omarion Hampton as humanly possible. I'm really discouraged by this because here's 2 things that you know that Jim Harbaugh, if you followed this for any amount of time, you know that Jim Harbaugh absolutely loves Najee Harris, the player and the person. He recruited him way back in the day, went all out for him to get him the University of Michigan. It didn't work. So the opportunity comes along now and they get him on a pretty friendly deal. It's not nothing. It's significant money. I think it's like 7.5 with 5 that was fully guaranteed, if I'm not mistaken. So that's not nothing, especially in terms of running back money. But him doing this to himself and potentially self-destructing this opportunity, it does provide us with a window to go grab some Omarion Hampton as much as possible. And I'll see the floor to you and what you think about this situation.
I agree with you that there's 2 components to this. One is like Omarion Hampton to the moon. Dwayne McFarland, whose work I follow very closely. I admire him in this industry. He's definitely someone who, I've connected with at various times. He put out a couple days ago that he saw Omarion Hampton go, at 30 overall. And he's like, I think that's really good. If anything, like move him up a little bit from there. And if we get even more clarity that Omarion Hampton is going to be the guy and Najee Harris is going to be out for significant time, then Omarion Hampton should be a round 2 pick.
Yes.
Like
he should firmly be inside the top 24 picks. Based on the information that we have now, he should firmly be inside the top 24 picks for me.
18. I think 18 is about where he's going to settle if we get Najee Harris is not going to be week 1 playing. And then Chev, I'll just speak to my speculation for the high stakes leagues. The high stakes leagues would take Omarion Hampton the 1-2 turn if we got news like that. So the reality is that Omarion Hampton to the moon. The other component, though, I liked what you said at the beginning, that there's still contingency value for Najee Harris later. Because even if you have Omarion Hampton to the moon, who is the handcuff? Who is the guy who's going to if Omarion Hampton goes down, it's not Kamani Vidal. It's not Rocket Sanders. Like, I don't hate those players. It's just so clearly Najee Harris behind Omarion Hampton in that scenario that there's no way you don't take Najee Harris in the same realm that, or you should take him above where like Tyler Algier is going. You should take him above where Zach Charbonnet is going. That's where you should be drafting a Najee Harris, like at the floor. There's no way he should fall lower than a Zach Charbonnet.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's the only professional that they have left behind. If we're assuming that Omarion Hampton ascends to 1A in this backfield, which we had been kind of thinking it's kind of 1A, 1B, and we didn't have any clarity, but Najee provided us with some clarity because of the fact that he can't practice. He's the only professional left in the backfield. They didn't trust Kamani Vidal last year at all. Rocket Sanders is an undrafted free agent. Now, if you followed Devi for any amount of time, you know that Rocket Sanders was the guy back in the day, but unfortunately, he's in a really, really crowded situation. Could show out this preseason and get traded somewhere. But as of right now, Najee's the only professional with real snaps that hasn't missed any time. Ironically enough, we talked about this a while back. Najee has never missed a game. He's never missed a game. He's rushed for 1,000 yards in 4 straight years. It just, you want the ceiling to be a little bit higher for Najee. And with this uncertainty that he's brought into the fold, I think that he's going to, I think if Omarion Hampton has a chance at the job, he's going to run away with it. And it'll become like we use Najee to spell Omarion Hampton every now and then, but he's the clear handcuff. So if something happens to Omarion Hampton, Najee steps in. But these are valuable reps for them to get out there and see him and be able to evaluate how he's moving out there. And hey, your best ability in the men's league is availability.
Oh, it's true.
And so if Najee's not out there, that's just another. Hey, Omarion Hampton stacking days, and he's already a first-round pick. So
I was waiting for you to drop the draft capital argument on us there.
Well, I mean, again, it kind of if you're really following this situation and you really follow the lore behind it, you understand what Najee Harris means to Jim Harbaugh. So it's not like they're going to just throw him aside, throw the baby out with the bathwater, but Omarion Hampton is a first-round pick. And regardless of what, they're going to run the ball, and they're going to run it successfully. They ran the ball 463 times last year. I assume they're going to be around that number again. But now we're trying to figure out the distribution of carries between Najee and Omarion Hampton. And right now, you have to heavily skew towards Omarion Hampton but you still know that Najee, once he gets healthy, he's going to have some sort of role, unless it's just something preposterous that's happened to his eyeball, and he's just out there walking around like Patches O'Houlihan.
Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Why is the rum always gone?
But like I said, I just this is really unfortunate because I thought that there was a ceiling for both, and I honestly thought it was going to be really annoying for fantasy this year because we were going to get a Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams pre-injury situation.
Right.
But the beautiful thing is we might get a lot of clarity on Omarion Hampton real early.
Real fast. Real fast. Well, we got some clarity in the wide receiver room for New England. And that's that Stefon Diggs, per Mike Vrabel, good to go. He tore his ACL in week 8 of last season, which is pretty late. It's mid-season ACL tear. And Diggs is on the wrong side of the age apex, but yes, Diggs is not like a big bodied wide receiver. So he's not necessarily on the same career trajectory necessarily, but I think it's good news. I think this is very strong news for Stefon Diggs, for Drake May, for getting a guy who is going to be clearly the wide receiver 1 for New England. The pedigree is there. The production profile is there. They went out and signed him. They have sponsorship. He's got the contract to support it. Look, I know you've been a Kyle Williams guy. Like,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Development, but he was still a 3rd round pick. Like those types of players, it takes time to develop.
Yes.
And there's also decent players. I'm not going to say great players, but decent players in the wide receiver room. Demario Douglas is a decent player. Hunter Henry is a good tight end, especially for I think an underrated tight end for fantasy.
Very, yes.
But then you get Stefon Diggs, who's getting this endorsement from Mike Vrabel that he is good to go, but he is also being drafted as the wide receiver. Wait for it. No, like really wait for it, because you have to keep scrolling down all the way to wide receiver 43 on Underdog Fantasy to get to Stefon Diggs. So yes, like he's going really late, but what type of ceiling does a Stefon Diggs have in New England, Chev?
So let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to answer a question with a question.
Oh, I hate that, but I'll do it.
Do you remember when Stefon Diggs was first traded from the Vikings to the Buffalo Bills?
Yes.
Yes. And then the season that followed was 160 targets, 127 receptions, 1,500 yards. I want to say like 8 or 9 touchdowns. There was very little in the way of target competition for a younger man then in Diggs, but still,
sure,
Diggs is one of those guys that's an elite separator. I think what we've had the wool pulled over our eyes about is the fact that he's still an elite player. He might not have the long speed, the ability to win outside as a true X, but we've seen early on in camp, they're lining Kayshon Boutte up at the X receiver, and they're lining him, moving Stefon Diggs around as the Z, kind of off the line of scrimmage. He'll be able to get some more one-on-ones, and he's going to eat them alive. He was still averaging 15 points a game before the injury last year in primarily a slot role with the Texans. So however they want to deploy him, he's going, and we saw Drake May have some success throwing to the aforementioned guys, Kayshon Boutte, Hunter Henry, Demario Douglas. We saw him look competent in a horrid situation. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be a 1-for-1 transfer here with Diggs coming out, but he's the stinking wide receiver 43. And there's not a world. I've been a big Diggs. I was a Diggs guy before it was cool to be a Diggs guy. So I've been beating the drum like, look, man, if you give this dude the same amount of targets you give some of these other guys, he's just as good. So I'm firmly of the belief that if he is the primary target earner in that receiving tree, he's going to smash wide receiver 43 out of the water. We might be talking top 20. We might very easily be talking about Stefon Diggs firmly inside, closer to 15 than he is 20. If he's going to be the primary target earner for Drake May in the New England Patriots offense. That's what I believe. I'm buying that wholeheartedly. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, last year, Stefon Diggs, 24% target share, and that was behind a Nico Collins, who is getting a 25% target share. So this is a player who hasn't finished outside the top 24 of wide receiver in fantasy points per game since his rookie season, where he finished as wide receiver 42, not wide receiver 43. So he's never finished wide receiver 43 or worse in fantasy points per game last year. But we saw a downtick a little bit last year in the targets, in the fantasy scoring, in the yards per game, the targets per game. Even the receiving touchdown rate was lower last year. I think that was part of the Texans' environment, though. Like, he's not the number one read. He's also a player that is on the wrong side of the age apex. You're going to see him slowly like move down a little bit. Like he was 16.1 fantasy points per game in 2023, 18.9 back in 2022.
It's, man, okay, so Father Time comes for us all. And
he's 31 and a half years old right now.
Sure. And I think he's
coming off a major knee injury.
But it's a clean ACL. It's not ACL and MCL. It's not. We've seen guys return to performance after an ACL tear.
This is true.
It's the ACL, MCL. When you start getting into there's extra collateral damage in terms of the other ligaments that are compromised during an event like that. So that's why they've declared him good to go. I mean, I like watching the dudes move after, and see if they're in my, somewhat trained eye as someone with a degree in exercise science. Like I like watching them move and seeing how, and he's cutting and running full speed 4.5 months after the surgery. So I want to see how he holds up during training camp. I'm sure he's going to get an appropriate amount of rest because he's 31 years old and Rabes takes care of the vets. But I'm firmly in on the wide receiver 43 price point because there's almost no way if he's on the field that he doesn't outperform that.
Well, especially for like, you can't both be like, there are a lot of people out there who are Drake May truthers. Like Drake, like they're pounding the table for Drake May. There's no way that you can be a Drake May truther and not be all in on Stefon Diggs.
Yes.
Because the pathway for Drake May to smash this year is for Stefon Diggs to smash.
Yes.
So there's no other pathway. This
Correct.
is it.
Yes. That's the thing is you have to like, it's a symbiotic game of if then. If you like Drake May, then you have to like one of his pass catchers because what are we doing if you
and it's not Hunter Henry who's going to be the one to carry the load. It's not going to be your Jalen Polks, your Kayshon Boutte, Pop exactly. Douglas. Like, look, I liked some of the things that Kayshon Boutte did last year. Let's not like he had some good.
He's a viable NFL player,
and he could have been amazing. What could have been with Kayshon Boutte?
Oh man, you're talking about him as a collegian. Don't get me started.
At any rate,
yeah,
the pathway for Drake May to hit this year is for Stefon Diggs. So if you are stacking, this is where you can easily, in the best ball streets, just double click your Stefon Diggs, who is going, as I said, wide receiver 43, 77 overall, and Drake May is going, oh my gosh, like quarterback 14, 115 overall on Underdog Fantasy. You can get Diggs as your wide receiver 4. You can get Diggs as your wide receiver 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just wait forever for his quarterback, Drake May. That's the arbitrage.
Yeah. It's the key to establishing generational wealth, Bradley. I thought we would put this behind a paywall.
Well, that's why y'all should subscribe. If you're watching right now on the X machine, go to YouTube. Go to Player Profiler Now Plus. Player Profiler Now Plus. Subscribe to the Player Profiler Now Plus YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. Hit the like. Share it with your buddies after you've done your draft. And then you'll be like, see, I told you this is where we get the good stuff. We got just a couple last players as we wind down. Chev's been a superstar, bringing the heat here on StackHunters.
Thrilled to be on, brother. This is fun.
This is fun. Another wide receiver, veteran wide receiver who had a down year last year, also tied to an injury. Tyreek Hill says he feels no pain in his wrist. Now, remember, he had a wrist fracture preseason that we didn't know about, and then he got arrested literally before week 1. So, Chev, I don't know. What do you take on Tyreek Hill?
Okay, so there's Tyreek Hill's wrist might be fine, but I want to know if Mike McDaniel's vocal cords are okay, because he was not calling plays for Tyreek Hill in the manner in which he had in the prior 2 seasons. So Tyreek Hill went from 4th in first read target share in 2023 to 38th overall in 2024. And so we're talking about a change philosophically. The Dolphins couldn't run the ball at all. And so they couldn't get teams to get out of the too high shell, which would allow them to hit more explosives. And so that's where the breakout for Achane as a pass catcher and Jonnu Smith getting 111 targets, they had to adapt. So it's possible. And Tyreek Hill being priced where he's currently going, I believe he's I want to say mid third. Am I correct in saying that, or is he a little bit higher?
Tyreek Hill is the wide receiver 12, 21.9. So end of round 2.
End of round 2. So I was a little bit off, but going where he's going, he represents top 5 wide receiver upside, and he's got the contract. They immediately extended him after giving him, the 100 and however million year in 2022. So they're tied to this guy for quite some time. And we're talking about what's more likely. Do you believe that his talent is commensurate with him being the wide, 4th in first read target share or 38th? Do you think that he's more likely to finish with 950 yards or 1,700 yards? We could split the difference and come up with a guy who's 90 for 1,300 and 10 touchdowns, and he's available at the end of the second round. But also, it could just be over. It could be over. I mean, you can't stay the fastest human being on a football field for forever. There's guys that watched you play when they were in middle school now coming into the NFL, and those dudes are fast too. So I'm kind of stuck at that price point on Tyreek Hill. I thought that if he was in the 3rd round, that's an easy smash because he represents top 5 wide receiver upside. But everything that I just pointed to before says that they changed the way that they play football. And they just lost Teron Armstead. So that's another blow to an already weak offensive line. And hey, you misspelled Jacory, coach. But anyway, I want to click the button on Tyreek Hill. I think that the truth is somewhere in between what happened last year and what happened in 2023 for him. If they're going to force feed him 170 targets again, sign me up. But we can't make that bet anymore. Do you feel comfortable making that bet?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I have zero confidence in I have zero confidence in the Miami Dolphins making a shift and change because they want to preserve Tua. They know their offensive line is not good. The only way to have your quarterback not take hits is to get the ball out quickly, which is why Devon Achane got the ball a lot, why Jonnu Smith got the ball a lot, why Waddle and Hill did not get the ball, because the play didn't develop. There's not a lot of time. So they're coaching differently to try to preserve Tua because literally one more hit, he's dead. It's true. He's gotten hit so badly that we've thought that he did suffer long-term injuries, and he still probably has. It's just he's going out there and playing. So the reality is what has changed? What has given us any reason to think that Miami has changed their offensive philosophy? They didn't bring in significant offensive line. They drafted a first-round defensive tackle in Kenneth Grant. Who did they sign in the offseason? Right? They traded for Laramie Tunsil, right? They traded for Tunsil, but Tunsil...
No, Tunsil's with the Texans. Tunsil's with the 49ers or Commanders. I don't know why.
He went to the 49ers. Exactly. That's
he went to Commanders.
It's been a whole mess. So there's no reason to think that Miami should have any change in offense. They're going to have to continue to get the ball out early. No, Jonnu Smith isn't there anymore, but Darren Waller is. So that's why I'm a little I'm willing to take shots on Darren Waller because they're going to force feed that role with targets. And we've seen Waller be a target guy, even in the seasons, which were shortened over the last few years. So I'm bullish on Achane, not necessarily as a rusher, but as a pass catcher, because the volume of receiving. And
Yes.
then I'm taking shots on Darren Waller because of this offense. And I'm fading Tyreek Hill at wide receiver 12. Why? What do we have that changes our minds? Nothing. There's no reason to change our minds.
Hope.
Oh, hopium is a dangerous drug there, Chef.
It is. It is. It ruins. It's known to sink best ball lineups and cause immense sadness.
Yeah. So I'm out on Tyreek Hill.
I don't blame you. I mean, it's again, it is the biggest risk with the potentially the biggest reward. He could give you 2023 on pace for wide receiver 1 overall numbers, and or it could be 2024 and it's just nobody's having a good time. You're just watching the Dolphins every week. It comes on Red Zone. You're like, oh, cool. Another Jonnu Smith target. Man, did I get him off waivers? No. Cool. Love that for myself. Like, I'm serious. Like, I don't understand that. That's the thing that people who are betting on Tyreek Hill, the biggest thing when I saw it that made me go, okay, I can't be in on this anymore, and a bounce back is he went from 4th in first read target share to 38th.
Yep.
That's enough for me. And then, I mean, on top of the decline in actual production, it just it doesn't make a lot of sense for me. And I would love for it to be different because I've argued that he was the best wide receiver in football going into 2024. And I just, there's no reason for me to make that argument now. No reason.
Well, we'll leave with one last thought. Buy or sell Chase Brown for redraft and best ball. We're not talking Dynasty.
Okay.
Not talking Dynasty.
All right.
Redraft and best ball. Are you buying Chase Brown, running back for the Cincinnati Bengals? Right now, Brown is going off as the running back 11, 26.6. So like the third pick in the third round.
Buy or sell Chase Brown, third pick of the third round, and Breece Hall is going afterwards. Yeah.
Breece Hall is going at 33.3.
It's a tough one.
Look, okay, don't worry about where Breece Hall is. We're all buying Breece Hall. If you're not buying Breece Hall at 33.3, you're a fool.
I created a this or that in my head immediately.
Right.
But I will tell you this.
But in a vacuum, Chase Brown, RB11,
26.
I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it too. I'm going to buy it.
And the reason being is that from the minute that Zach Moss's neck got hurt, from that point forward, weeks 9 to 17 or 9 to 18, Chase Brown's RB5. Chase Brown was top 5 at the position in routes run last season. Chase Brown finished like 4th in catches amongst running backs last season with 54. A whole season workload for that is absolutely outlandish. And that's the way that Zach Taylor has played American tackle football as a head coach. That's just how he's done it. There's an 8-week sample in 2024 where he used 2 running backs. And then the minute that one of them got hurt, he went back to what he's done since he's been a head coach. So yes, I'm buying Chase Brown because we've already seen the breakout happen. And then it's like, nobody cares. We're just talking about him like he's just, he's in a committee. Oh, it's like, no, you took one of the best running backs in one of the best offenses and you gave him all the work. What are we doing?
See, it's so easy. Like it's very, very easy to just go Chase, Higgins, Brown, tap, tap, tap. And then in round 5, you get Joe Burrow. Well, Joe Burrow right now is going as the quarterback 561. So you can get him in round 6, like 5-6 turn.
Yeah.
Which
that's
there we go. This
ridiculous.
Is it. That is the Cincinnati stack is there for you. We are hunting the stacks. Make sure you're following Justin Curry at Chev90 on
nobody's
X.
gonna know who you're talking about.
At X Chev. Give us all the AKAs. Give us all the things people should do to follow you.
Yeah. So if you want to find all the work that I'm doing, just go to my profile at Chev90. Yeah, Chevdor Sanders is the tag name. And there's a link tree called the Quantum of Chevis, and all of the things that I'm working on are there.
Love it. Well, on behalf of Chev, I'm Bradley. Until next time, everyone, good luck in the best ball streets.